Hi, everybody. Are we ready to go? Team FDN, you guys ready to go with your recording?
I think so. There's Reed.
There's Reed. Hey. Yay, we're doing this. Awesome. Welcome, you guys. I see all the attendees coming up. Welcome. Keep on climbing. We want as many of you here as possible. I am thrilled to be here with you guys tonight and to connect with you. And I was saying to Reed, just before we got started, I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. And, Reed, we've been talking for a while that I wanted to do something like this for a long time because the questions that come through the website, so many of them are, I want to do this work, and how should I do this work? That type of a thing. And I think that the more health coaches we have out there, the more people that can help other people heal from the root cause, the better off the entire world will be. And we're really part of this paradigm shift and a really interesting time in life, in healthcare, to really make a huge dent and a shift in the way integrative healthcare is practiced. And that's what I love so much about Reed. And so I want to just tell you a little bit about him. Reed Davis, we love him. So you guys know he's the founder of the FDN program, the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition program. Tonight we're going to talk about how to become an effective health coach. No fluff. We're going to get into the science tonight. If you know Reed, you know he goes deep into it. He's a certified nutritional therapist, and he's provided functional lab assessments to over 10,000 clients for hormone levels, adrenal function, digestive problems, which we know is the cornerstone of our health, immune system, detoxification issues, which we're going to talk about tonight, and really all kinds of infections and food sensitivities and many other health-related problems. And so we're going to talk, like we were just saying before we went live tonight, that the FDN program is in 50 different countries. And so we are blessed to do this work and to really help thousands of people get their lives back. So we're going to answer questions at the end, and I really want to get to know you. Are you a health coach, an aspiring health coach? Did you go to IIN? Are you interested in doing this for your friends and family, but not as a career? So we'll get to all of that at the end. And Reed, welcome. And without further ado, I'm turning it over to you, my friend.
Hey, thanks so much. You're looking wonderful as always, and so bubbly and bright, and it's because you have a great mission and you're a happy person. Again, before we started, I mentioned walking the talk, and we all want to do that. It's kind of a prerequisite. And another thing I just wanted to share that occurred to me is, because you mentioned purpose, and I want to tell you that you should write it down when you come up with your purpose, and it will never be more clear than when you originated it. So when it came into your brain is when it's the purest and when it is the most powerful. Because I'm telling you, I decided 7-8 years ago, we've been teaching FDN for 7 years this week. So just prior to that, obviously I decided I would teach. And I said, my purpose is going to be to deputize as many people in the world as possible to do what I'm doing. And it has never changed. That was such a pure thought at the time. It came to me that I'm going to deputize people. I'm going to teach this. Now, I'd been encouraged to do it for years. Why aren't you teaching this? Because I had a very, very successful practice here in Poway, California. It's a beautiful and busy area, Southern California, expensive, but, so I found a way to help people. And then I made that purpose of deputizing others, and it's never been more pure. So if you get inspired, I want you to write it down. You'll never have to worry about your purpose again. So I hope that came across. Now I'm going to go ahead and not do too much introduction or any of that. I want to respect people's time tonight. I know they might be on East Coast, and it's getting late maybe already. So is my screen up okay?
Your screen is up, yeah. Okay. We're going to dive into the presentation. Shall we turn our webcams off? So
I think we do that so I can look over at the screen that it's on. And so we'll see you again at the end of the webinar. And Jen, thanks so much for you being on. Jen is our faithful events coordinator who got us together and is on the line to track your questions, see if you have a hand raised for some reason. If something happens technically, she'll save us. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the that off, hopefully. Yeah, and now I can look at my screen. So this...
All right, we'll see you guys at the end.
Thank you. And Krista, please jump in anytime. I know you will, because you're on top of all this. We're going to talk about how to become an effective health coach. Obviously, I do it from the perspective of something I created called Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. There's me now, and there's Krista. Now, make sure my screen's working. All right, here it goes. So there's me 15 years ago when I was the health director and case manager. And I'm going to tell you, I'm one of the hardest working people I know. And I love work. I love what I do. And I did a lot more of what we all do now than almost any other person. So here's what motivated me. I was a nutritionist. I was given the job of case manager at a wellness center in Poway, California. It's right, might as well say San Diego. And I was just amazed at the number of people walking in the office who said, I've already seen 5 people. I've already been to 8 people. And I've already spent thousands of dollars. And I'm not satisfied. As a matter of fact, I'm worse than I was when I started. And so I thought, that totally sucks, if you will, to use a Southern California phrase. And and I decided I would stop the cycle of trial and error that people are doing. I wanted to be the last person they had to see. It just didn't make any sense to me. Now, I was probably naive to think that at the time, because I really didn't have a lot of skills beyond just some nutritional background. And I'd done some coaching and things like that. But I was a businessman. I was actually in environmental law before I switched over. I decided I wanted to help people instead of just plants and trees and rivers and streams and things, which is great work, but this is what I truly wanted to do. I decided I would stop the cycle of trial and error, and over a period of time, several years, I performed over 10,000 tests on mostly women at first, and they kind of liked what was happening. We got lucky on some cases, we got smart on some cases, we learned a lot, and we started working on women and children. Now, men, women, children, young, old, it doesn't matter. We have a good system. Now, what I did was run all those labs, being very aggressive, very assertive as kind of a businessman. Like, get a lot of people in the office, run the labs, and see what's wrong with them, see what's really wrong. And I was able to make my own observations about who got better and who didn't. Now, it's no surprise now that the people who were working closest to the underlying cause are the ones that actually got better. Those that were just chasing symptoms and didn't want to do what we do, they're probably still chasing symptoms if they're alive. Now, that allowed me to develop what we call now, we coined this phrase, functional diagnostic nutrition. It's like functional medicine, but it's for the nutritionist, the health coach, the personal trainer, the massage therapist, the kind of, what we call a lay practitioner. So it doesn't mean doctors don't take it. They love my stuff. But we also developed this Dress for Health Success program. And that is a lifestyle program that's pretty all-encompassing. So over the years, I identified this needs gap and figured out how to fill it and ended that cycle of trial and error for thousands of people. Now, just real quickly, Krista, and again, I know we don't have all night, but you know what I mean about people walking in, they've already seen 5 people or eight other practitioners, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why we're doing this webinar is, you know, I would be the same way. And I think people have both called you and I like, oh, you're like Dr. House of Nutrition. Like, we're going to figure it out no matter what and get to the root cause so they can heal. And it's frustrating that people have spent, you know, 5, 10 years, a lot of time longer trying to figure out what's going on with them, and you don't get that time back in your life. You also don't get the thousands of dollars back, you know, that you spent, and and really it's just quality of life, it's relationships with people. If you're not healthy, you just, what do we have, right? Health is the first wealth. So I'm with you.
Yeah, there's something, expression about when you're younger, you don't care much about your health, for most people, traditionally, let's say. But when you get older, it's about the only thing you end up caring about that you want. It's pretty remarkable. So now we've gained some notoriety. What doctors are saying about our program, even though I said it's about the lay practitioner, it's about putting the tools and the power in the hands of the people. But doctors are recognizing that FDN integrates perfectly with people who want to live a healthy lifestyle or health coaching, chiropractic, acupuncture, personal training, naturopathy, just about any natural health discipline, But also, and this is critical, it provides an amazing holistic grounding program for anyone with true medical conditions. You know what that tells us is that we can help anybody. Even if they've got a medical condition, they will need some kind of general principles to be applied, and doctors, of course, aren't trained in that and aren't able to do that the way that they operate. So it's a really neat thing. And at the same time, I do have to mention this, that medical treatment is for specific diseases or diagnosis or just managing symptoms. We work differently. We say we work in a non-specific manner using our general principles on restoring function, cleaning up inflammation or toxicity or whatever it is, and returning the person to normal health. And while medical treatment depends on drugs and surgery, standard of care is drugs and surgery. We depend instead on lifestyle modifications and natural therapies included in our Dress for Health Success system or self-care system. DRESS stands for diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplements. We'll cover that in a little bit. I want to assure you, over the years, and on the previous page with the doctor, that's Dr. William Bailey. He's been my medical director. He's a DO scientist, worked for Jonathan Wright at the Tahoma Clinic for years. He's been just this amazing influence on what we do. And he's been telling me for years, if you get the general principles right, it will outperform specific treatments that people, they go to a physician, oh, you need to see an endocrinologist, or you need to see a gastroenterologist, or you need to, that's specific treatment. We can outperform that. Isn't that the truth? So, I know I get on a roll. I'll try to pause and not get too excited here, but even after all these years, just blows me away what we can do. And what you're going to learn tonight is what's missing from your practice now. Or if you don't have a practice, what you're going to definitely want to learn to get into practice. You're going to learn how to end the cycle of trial and error. And I'm going to teach you about three of the top. There's a lot of labs you could run, but three of the top ones that will help you be an effective health coach, and how to coach up function and build health, and to coach down contributors to poor health. You'll see how we break that down. Because people come to see us, the lay practitioners. Remember, I'm not a doctor either. And they have choices. They're going to either opt in now. This is what I tell my clients or prospects. Look, opt in now to self-care. Learn how to take care of yourself. Use that model. Or you will be forced in later to a disease care model, the drugs and surgery. So it's people's choice. I tell them, you have your choice. And when we educate them just enough, they pick us instead of them. Here's a good example of someone, Susan. So her main complaints were heartburn, gas, bloating, constipation, weight gain, a little over 30 pounds, and fatigue, very common. She was in that cycle of trial and error. She had a personal trainer, she had a health coach, she had a naturopath. She was doing diet and exercise. Also some therapeutic modalities, supplements, B12 shots. She had these different experts, and each one, it was like, well, let's try this, and let's try that, and let's try this, and let's try that, and only getting half better at best. And does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I'm thinking, don't guess at it, test it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
these symptoms, right? I mean, people who come to us, they're just the most common symptoms.
Yeah, these are common things, but they're very real when you're the person having them. So people who come with that tiredness and fatigue and overweight and the heartburn and other things that were going on there also have other problems. It might not be their main complaint. Now, I do, as a matter of course, when I'm dealing with someone, I want to know what's number one and maybe number two. So if I had a magic wand, what could I relieve today? That's what we want to sort of focus on. But they're going to have these other things. And by the way, you listening, we all have some stuff. And so, pick your problem here. This is what people are showing up with. They're chronic stress-related disorders. And just to review, people have those problems. They go usually to the doctor finally, like it's bothering them so much. They might try this or that. They might look on the internet, and they end up going to a doctor, and either they're not a candidate for drugs and surgery, or they don't want to take drugs, and get surgery. So if they're not a candidate for drugs and surgery, what do they do, Krista? What do they think? I mean, hey, your blood work looks normal. How many people have said that to you?
Yeah, and then that's frustrating to have someone who isn't feeling well and is being told it's all in their head and everything looks fine.
Yeah, so a doctor might say it's in your head, here's your chill pill, and then you don't want to do that, and your clients don't want to do that, so they go try the next diet. There's books, there's probably 1,000 books, exercise programs, different modalities, lots of trial and error, lots of money being spent, and that doesn't work, or only gets them a little far along. They go to the next one, they go to the next one. That's the cycle of trial and error. And there's lots of people out there, and they might be making pretty good money actually with try my therapy. And people are desperate and they'll do it. So
I just want to say on that vein, for all of you guys who are practitioners or thinking about becoming a practitioner, is to not ever worry about the money. You just worry about getting people well, and you'll have a wait list out the door.
Yeah, waiting list practice is waiting for you. So clients now, they're wise now. So if you're the 5th person they've seen, they're very skeptical. Or if you're the 3rd, if you're the 10th, they're now going to ask you, do you know what's wrong with me? That's their number one question. They might not say it exactly like that, but I analyzed this over the years. No matter what their story was, no matter what they were saying to me, these are the 3 things it boiled down to. They want to know this. Do you know what's wrong with me? Can you help me? And have you helped others like me? Otherwise, they're just going to go back to their symptom treatment and stuff. They're waiting for someone to say yes, yes, and yes. So I learned how to say yes to these things. People are tired of that run around. All their regular practitioners do is treat the symptoms. I can say, yes, I know what's wrong with you. You have unidentified malfunctions and interferences, things blocking health from showing up. Can I help you? Yeah, I'm a health detective. I can identify healing opportunities and restore normal function and health if you do the things I ask you to do. Lab work and protocols that actually restore health because they work in the right systems. And have you helped others like me? Well, at first I couldn't say a whole lot, but now we can say thousands. And now that we have a training program that is worldwide, you can say absolutely we've helped others. You can borrow on our success, say absolutely this has helped thousands of people, tens of thousands. And as we said, we're going wrong. So if right now, if you're in practice and you can't say yes to these 3 things, then people are going to give you the thumbs, they're going to have a hard time getting hired. On the other hand, if you can say absolutely yes, I can help you stop chasing symptoms and look for the cause. I can fill the gap. So there's a gap. Remember I said we're going to stop the cycle of trial and error and we're going to fill the needs gap. The needs are to stop chasing symptoms, look for the cause. Identify the hidden stressors. I'll show you what that acronym means in a minute. Repair, rebuild, restore, revitalize. Work on the root causes, or as close as you can get to them. Have a plan. Have something step by step that people can do. Have them work on a gradient. You can't have a 200-pound person who wants to weigh 125 think about losing 75 pounds. It's about let's lose 5 first, and then 10, and then so on. So you need to have a plan, and you need to have clients who are willing to adopt a self-care model. So I would just ask you to think about if you're filling that needs gap, or if you want to, if you're not in business, because we have a way. So just to recap that, does your approach stop the cycle of trial and error, get to the root cause, or are you just offering something that people should try and see if it works? Like chase the symptoms, the clients really aren't reaching their goals, and you'll know you need this if a lot of people are moving on to the next practitioner after 2 months or 3 months. That's about how long someone will stay with you on faith. Sometimes it's 30 days, sometimes 60. If they have a lot of faith, 90. But after that, they're gone. And know what that means? It means you're gonna have to get new ones all the time. You got people coming in the front door, but they're going right back out the back door, and you'll spend more of your time trying to get new customers than helping the ones you have. So there's only.
Shouldn't you get them healthy by 90 days?
What I'm saying is, people who aren't moving in the right direction in a fairly short period of time, if they don't feel that they're making continuous improvement generally will bail. Now,
Totally.
yeah, so you better be having a system, like we said, that actually, look, we're not going to try, we're going to do this. And they do have to give it time. I mean, there does have to be some commitment, but it also needs to really work. And so there are only 3 steps you need to stop this cycle, and that's what we're going to spend quite a bit of time on here. And by the way, diet and exercise are just not going to be enough for most people. Diet is critical, but we know lots of people who eat really good food and they're not doing better enough. Also, exercise is mandatory. There are many fit, unhealthy people. Now, for some reason, the 3 steps aren't the next slide. Well, that's okay, because I can roll with the punches. The 3 steps are to do your investigation, set up a customized, individualized plan, and then work the plan. That's the 3 steps. And it's going to require you to follow a new way of looking at disease and understand this new way of looking at disease. So we have this big organ up in the skull that's called the brain, and it connects and communicates with the body through blood and through nerves and through energy. And so that communication is, the purpose of it is function. And we think, this is a basic tenet of our work, that you're designed pretty well. All your cells are given a set of instructions and designed to operate normally. So normal function is what? It's really good. Whether it's your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, your pancreas, your adrenals, your ovaries, your testes, if you got them, they're designed well. That we call it the divine design, and that would be a person functioning normally in a state of ease or homeostasis. Wouldn't you be pretty healthy, Krista, if you were functioning normally in a state of ease?
Well, 100%. We got to get the body back to its innate intelligence.
Yeah, now that innate intelligence is a form of, the term is vitalism, and I'm what they call a near vitalist. So I believe that design is there. There's a set of instructions each cell is given, and it should be able to follow those out. But there are things that happen. There's voids in that, genetic sometimes and acquired in other cases. And so what happens is people who come to us not functioning normally at 100%. They've got symptoms, and they come at first just wanting relief for that, but we know that if they have symptoms, they really aren't at ease. They have dis-ease and dysfunction. So that's a loss of normal function, and symptoms, while they're common, should never be called normal. You agree with that? There's no such thing as a normal symptom?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I like that you put the dis in front of function and ease, because I do that too. And for those of you with clients who are already health coaches, I mean, you can shift a belief system by saying, you're in a state of dis-ease, not disease, and just having people understand that symptoms or even a diagnosis is a sign the body is very out of balance, and you just have to find its way back to balance instead of, marching towards this path of degradation.
Right. People actually have said to me, what's your health complaints? Oh, I get headaches, but they're normal headaches. Oh, what's a normal? There's no such thing. It's like, a friend of mine said her doctor told her she's only 45 and she needs a hysterectomy, but that's normal. I'm going, there's no such thing as a normal so symptoms are common but not normal. Now, people do deserve a little relief care. They want to feel better. Mostly that's offered by pills, which might remove the symptoms. You see, we kind of mask them there. We've masked the symptoms. If that doesn't work, after a while you might do some surgery, just cut the parts out. There's lots of people getting, we just mentioned a major surgery, That's relief care. But what's changed? The only thing changed is the symptoms are gone. The disease processes are still there. The dysfunction's still there. And we know that symptoms are a signal something's wrong. No symptoms normal. They might go away or decrease with relief care, but can either come back with a vengeance, or what I've seen over and over again, new symptoms appear. So what we like to do is focus on the causes of dysfunction while providing some intelligent relief care. So if you're really suffering right now, don't feel bad if you're just seeking relief care. That's okay. But if you want to sort of permanently handle this, you got to focus on the causes. Now, I usually call it stress or distress. Um, they could be mental emotional stressors. There's biochemical trauma that could happen to your body. Built up trauma is very bad for it. But we tend to focus more on the biochemical, physiological, hidden stressors and contributors to metabolic chaos. So I'll tell you what metabolic chaos is in a minute. It's just the way your body breaks down. But we can identify healing opportunities, help the body regain normal function. As you see, it's returning to normal there. What happens? The symptoms drop away. Bodies return to a state of ease. Health is restored. And complaints, Krista, you've seen this too, are often permanently resolved when you know which steps to take. So,
yeah, strategy is everything.
Yeah, people have had serious diagnosis, and again, those specific treatments they were getting weren't working, but the general principles brought in do work. So this slide is that 3-step slide. Which steps to take? As I said, identify the hidden stressors and dysfunctions, create individualized diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction supplement program, and coach up function while coaching down contributors to metabolic chaos. Again, I'm going to go over that metabolic chaos in a sec. It's what's really wrong with you. And it's the only diagnosis that a non-licensed practitioner can give. And it's the only one you want to give. It's the only level you want to work at, in my opinion and in my experience. So the first step, as we said, is to look for these hidden stressors and dysfunctions. So we have functional lab work. These are usually simple saliva, urine, stool, things you can collect at home. Once in a while a blood draw. But we run this functional lab, identify the healing opportunities and malfunctions within hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous systems. Now, I like acronyms. Some people think they're too cute. They just help old guys like me remember stuff. So hidden stressors and dysfunctions in these areas are the first place to look. At least we can get a lot of agreement on that. And they're at the root of most common health complaints. So if you want to deal with the dysfunction and the dis-ease processes, this is a good place to start. As things start to clean up and repair and restore and rebuild, then those symptoms and even diagnosed conditions seem to just fade away. So the HITDEN, the lab work, one of them is very common. Remember, I'm only going to show you 3 labs today because it's all we have time for.
I love this one so much. I cannot tell you how many times I've run this lab in practice.
Yeah, because it gives you insights. Now, we're not trying to diagnose or treat something specific. We want to know generally what is wrong with a person. Now, where do they need support? What's breaking down in their body? That's not diagnosing or practicing medicine. That's applying general principles of health building. It's health coaching at its finest, because you've actually identified something that needs repair. Now, the adrenal stress hormone profile, it really looks at the adrenals, what we call the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. So here, I'm not sure you can see my arrow. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So here's the hypothalamus pituitary. They release hormones that control the thyroid right here. It controls the adrenals right here, and it also controls the gonads, whether they be testes in men, ovaries in women. So there's a lot of messages being sent out, just like we did the brain-body diagram and then the dysfunction. So we start with these signals, and it allows us to check the adrenals. This test, and there's others for the other organs, but the circadian rhythm. People have roller coaster cortisol levels, for instance, and melatonin levels, and they're just totally mismatched with the time of day. Hormone imbalances, progesterone and testosterone and estrogens all need to be in the right proportions. And then we get lots of other additional insights. This is basically a snapshot of overall, I call it adaptive reserve. It's also known as vital reserve. You could call it metabolic reserve. Sorry for all the names, but there's lots of ways to sort of label this. So it tells us how well you're doing. Guides therapy, points to the next level of investigation. It's a great baseline to monitor changes. Make sure that your client's being compliant with you. And all it requires is some saliva samples. It's really so cool. So,
I was just going to say, I mean, running that test, and you guys, if you get really good at understanding this, you can get someone feeling better. This is going back to what you said when someone walks in your office.
Yep.
What makes them feel safe is confidence and expertise of, I got this, I got you, I understand this. And I would say to my clients, once I understood their situation, you know, hey, we can get you feeling 30 to 50% better within 3 weeks' time. And if you have this information, you start turning off that stress response. You can get someone feeling markedly better within only a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the trick to what you just said, I'll go over in a little more detail, but it's that when you're working with these general principles of the stress response, like you said, it just simply outperforms the specific treatment that someone else would try. Like if even on the case of adrenals, it's like, oh, here's some adrenal support. Now that is just a guess if you're not going to run some lab and see. And actually could cause some harm in some people. Some people take adrenal support and I got anxious, I got nervous, I hate that adrenal support. You know, so it only makes sense to do some investigation, right? Now, again, I'm trying to not necessarily go fast, but move along here. And here's a case where the cortisol sum is 21.1, and the reference range is 23 to 42. So it's below the reference range. This person's best cortisol production is less than the reference range, meaning it's out of range, meaning that it's, in this case, low. So cortisol is what? It's a really important hormone and has so many physiological components or effects in the body. But one of the main things is it controls blood sugar. It's there to help you raise your blood sugar. And it also is a painkiller. It's also an anti-inflammatory. So it has all these neat effects. And we need it. We want it in regular levels. So what I would say about this person, because their morning is also low, and their noon is low, and their afternoon is low, the nighttime is barely in the range. So that's what I meant about a snapshot of adaptive reserve. This is a pooped out person. Now, the DHEA, which is also an adrenal hormone, this is also made in the adrenal glands. Look at the range, 2 to 10, it's only 1.13. And so, you see a person whose vital reserve, you know, what's left in their tank, so to speak, that, again, metabolic reserve is strategic reserve. Krista very appropriately mentioned the innate, okay, that's your birthright. The right to be healthy is you're born with. Every cell is supposed to be given a set of instructions. Now, that's vitality. And there's a reserve there that we should grow up with and live with. But so that reserve can get beaten down, though. And guess what happens when you go over this with a client? What happens to their level of understanding and their feelings about your knowledge? And do you think they're likely to do what you recommend when you correlate this with them and you finally explain why they feel so crappy?
Yeah, you take the lab work and you explain exactly how they feel and say, hey, you know, if something else happens to you in life, you don't have the reserve to deal with it. And so that's when, you know, little things feel like big things and life gets so overwhelming. And so a lot of times we can't change our external situation of life, but we can change that internal fortitude, which is what this work can do.
And it kind of explains why they used to feel great and happy, and now they feel so now they're feeling crappy, and you're saying, look, it's the stress has had this accumulative effect upon you. It's beaten down your vital reserve. That set of instructions that your cells and tissues and organs have is not getting communicated properly. There's this vitality is missing. And so now here's the last thing. We're going to move on, but I want to show you something. Even though cortisol is low here, it's very high in relationship to the DHEA. These need to be in balance. Now, I'm kind of responsible for this marker here being put on lab test results because I insisted on this. Did a lot of research. Cortisol is the catabolic hormone. It breaks your body down. Remember, it has to raise blood sugar, and when you need it, and it'll do anything. It'll actually break down muscle. You look at long distance runners, for instance, and you know they don't look kind of skinny. And it's a lot of they're high cortisol, they're stressed, they're over exercising, so they have high cortisol at first, which eats up all their muscle just to try to maintain blood sugar levels. And so that's why we say cortisol is catabolic. It will break your body down. Now, DHEA is the anabolic steroid hormone. So one's catabolic, one's anabolic. And we know from just about any study of health that catabolism and anabolism need to be in balance. So the ratio on this particular test should be about 5 to 1 or 6 to 1, cortisol to DHEA. So look at the ratio, 18.6. It's 3 times what it should be. So even though their cortisol is low, it's really high in relationship to their DHEA. The DHEA is the real number telling you, man, you're not only tanked out, your body's getting eaten up. And so you're breaking down, you're aging faster. When you're catabolic, you're growing old. And this particular, remember Sue here is overweight, she's got gas, heartburn, constipation, bloating, she feels like crap all the time. And so instead of just saying, oh, here, that could be, here, try this, and here's some antidepressants so you're not bothered so much by it, we're saying, and you know what, she's almost in tears saying, oh my God, you figured me out. This is amazing. Why don't doctors do this test? Well, I can't go into all that, but that,
hopefully they will one day.
Well, they're not trained in it, but you know what? I believe we're going to teach basically. Now, these are insights into metabolic chaos. I can't wait to get to that slide. You're going to just be blown away by it. This is another test, another person. Again, morning, noon, afternoon, nighttime. We get a lot of insights from looking at that part of it too. Like the morning here is very low, so it should be high. There's something going on. There's insights we could get from that. And then here's the nighttime, very high. When nighttime is high, it could indicate immune system activity, parasites, other infections, or sensitivities. And so there's lots of this. Also, look at this. Well, look at the. It's not highlighted, but look at the cortisol to DHEA ratio on this person. It's even higher. So their body's breaking down. I want to show you a second test result on that. So that's a simple saliva test. Here's a simple urine test. This is one of 3 top labs. I'm not saying the 3 top, but I'm saying 3 of the very top. Metabolic assessment profile. We look at digestion. You can't be healthy if you're not breaking down and absorbing food. What about toxicity? We can measure how much oxidative stress is on your body right now. Now, going back to those runners, man, they can eat perfectly. They can even get a good night's sleep. They can do lots of things, but their oxidative stress is very high. Oxidative stress is best represented by thinking of an apple turning brown. Basically the cells are popping, the cell membranes are being destroyed, and the guts of the cell is rotting. That's why they turn brown. They actually will start to smell. And so that's lipid peroxides. That's how we measure that oxidative stress. And then, the liver, the hugest organ in your body besides your skin, important detoxifying organ. You can actually measure how well it's doing. I love this test because it tells us if you're breaking down and absorbing food. It tells us if you have excessive toxicity, and actually points to figure out at where it might be coming from. It also tells us if your liver's where. It's a direct measurement of liver function. Amazing to get all that out of a little bit of urine.
Right. It's incredible information. I mean, such powerful information from this test to help somebody heal.
And again, we're not diagnosing or treating anything specifically. Now, this lady had the positive indican telling us that she's not breaking down her protein. Matter of fact, it's just rotting in her insides. Her protein's actually just rotting in the small intestine, and it's some of that gets absorbed into the liver, and the liver excretes it into the bloodstream, and it's picked up by the kidneys and excreted in urine. That's how we can measure it. So there's rotting protein instead of good absorption of protein, which means she'll be amino acid deficient, which means she'll have neurotransmitter problems, and on and on and on.
Right.
Lipid peroxides here are high, so she's got excessive oxidative stress, and the urinary bile acids. The liver is handling this okay for now. But do you see how important this is to get these kind of evaluations? It guides her therapy. She could certainly use some antioxidants and some protein and some gut healing stuff. We're probably going to want to run another test to look for the SIBO, some kind of dysbiosis, leaky gut. And, leaky gut's an immune system problem. So we're going to we get plenty of insights. And guess what? Just like I said with the previous test, where there was a lot of clinical correlation. Wow, look, this says you're completely beat up and you're getting worse. And they say, yeah, that's how I feel. This one says you got maldigestion, malabsorption, excessive oxidative stress and toxicity. She goes, yeah, look at all the digestive trouble. So it correlates. We never treat test results. We always clinically correlate. Now,
That's really important. I think we should repeat it. It's like you don't treat the lab work, you treat the person. It's really important. The lab work is signpost.
We're going to give you an example. I've actually been going on a long time here because I love talking. All right, so another test we do is this GI pathogen screen. It's a stool culture, microscopy, trichrome stain. There's different ways of looking for bugs in stool. This is a very thorough test. We can identify biofilm even, or at least the biofilm forming types of pathogens. It's really good to know your bugs, but you want to treat the person, not the bugs. This person had this crypto, which is a bad thing. So all this stuff together equals a person who's going to be in bad shape and have symptoms. So you run those three. You might run some other deeper investigations, but those three would be a good start. There's food sensitivity testing, SIBO testing. That's your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Intestinal, leaky gut testing, organic acids, advanced hormones, heavy metals, environmental pollutants. Lots of panels you could run, but I recommend starting with those three. That'll give you. Yep.
I know you're concerned about timing, but can you go back one slide just to that last one real quick before this one? I just want to point out, so when you look at this, you can see from running those three tests, now you have a snapshot of the hormones, now you know what the liver's doing, right? And then you can start to see, are you even digesting your food, and are bugs responsible for it? You have such a huge picture to be able to put it all together. It's almost like the puzzle pieces are there, and now you're responsible as the practitioner to put them together and figure out the best place to start. And so I have run, I don't even know how many of these tests I have run, but the 401H is a superstar test.
It's an amazing test. And, we don't really know if these are the result of the problem or the cause of the problem. And very often these are more the result of the problem. Like bugs come, and it's like bums moving into a stinky neighborhood, It's like if you can get rid of the bums, but if you don't clean up the neighborhood, they're coming back. So which was really the cause of the well, I call them bums, but the bug. Which,
clean up the environment.
Yeah, I mean, so which is the cause? We don't really care. We just clean it all up. So once you've done an investigation, those are three important labs, and there's others that you might run. But you may not have to run them right away. That's enough to give you this customized, individualized, drugless protocol and behavior program. Now, I love to call in mine. Again, I love my acronyms. It makes it easy for me to remember. And this would fit on one hand, just 5 fingers, DRESS. You label them. Almost everything that you ask a person to do, because you're not going to be prescribing drugs, and you're not going to use supplements to replace drugs. In other words, you're not going to treat allopathically that way. We try not to do that. We use the entire program, Dress for Health Success. That's because, as I've said a few times now, general principles, living right and doing all the right things, will outperform specific treatments. So with this formula, we're not treating anything specific. We're treating everything non-specifically, and it will outperform specific treatments. It's also, as I said, like Dr. Bailey says, an amazing holistic grounding program when the client needs medical oversight. It's a system so unique that we went ahead and trademarked Dress for Health Success. And I'm just going to give you a little more details on diet. We have some particular ways of doing that. Rest, of course, everyone knows, got to get a good night's sleep. We work a lot with people on diet, rest, and exercise, and especially the stress reduction. The supplements I put last. We use targeted supplementation to support and stimulate as needed, fill in any gaps in food sources, remember, which is substitution. So supplements are good for substituting for the fact that there's not a lot of nutrients in food, even organic food, and to support and stimulate other systems or organs as they've been identified on the lab work. Now the key one is probably the stress reduction. Yeah. It really is the key area to FDN because we identify and eliminate mental, physical, and biochemical stressors, especially those hidden ones, the hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and nervous system interferers, malfunctions. That's why I can say DRESS takes care of all of it, because stress reduction is so huge. Stress is mental, emotional. Won't go through all these things here. Stress or distress can be physical. This is why I like chiropractors and Chek practitioners who can really check out your nervous system and your musculoskeletal system real good, because things build up there too. But an FDN is highly trained and skilled in the hidden stressors. Again, there could be several layers of investigation, as we've talked about. All of these things here are pretty easy to identify when you know where to look and what to do. This is the slide I've been wanting to get to.
I love this slide.
Yeah. Now, because there's simply this phrase that I like to say I coined. I actually borrowed it from Dr. Bailey. He just said it casually one day, and I said, that's going to be my theme from now on. Metabolic chaos is my diagnosis. I'm not a physician. I can't legally, ethically, or morally diagnose or treat anything, and I don't want to, because it doesn't work. That system doesn't work. Specific treatment is way outperformed by understanding and dealing with the physiological aspects of metabolic chaos. So this is just an example of how it works. Let's say someone comes in with the thyroid symptoms. They've got bloating, or they've got, like they're fatigued and they're gaining weight, and they got constipation and swelling ankles and some other stuff. Oh, it sounds like thyroid. Well, it could be a primary thyroid, but I'm guessing about 80% of the cases, it's not really the thyroid. It's just overall endocrine dysfunction due to metabolic chaos. All the stressors that flow into the body create metabolic chaos. They create metabolic inefficiencies. They are not countered well enough by your vital reserve. The instructions in each cells get confused. The signals are crossed, and chaos starts to win out. You just get dysfunctional. So you have endocrine dysfunction because of metabolic chaos, and endocrine dysfunction contributes to further metabolic chaos, and you end up with a person who, the same thing with their neural tissue health, and guess what? Next thing you know, brain fog, cloudy thinking, which is a symptom. Yeah.
Quality of life goes down. Infertility is starting right in the beginning. I'm just thinking of that, having finished.
There's other circles we could add. This is just enough to get the idea across that, these people have carbohydrate metabolism problems too, and therefore glucose homeostasis or blood sugar problems. They can't control their blood sugar no matter how well they eat. And it's because of metabolic chaos creating demands that food alone is not going to meet. And then what happens next, obviously fat and protein metabolism starts to break down. They end up with fairly substantial weight and fat distributions, or any of these other things. So that's my sort of proof of metabolic chaos, if you will, and that's the real problem that we get to deal with when you understand it. And this is going to change the way medicine is practiced. In 20 years, physicians will look at the body this way, and the scientists will create labs that we can use for the percentage of population that are really, really sick, because they suffer metabolic chaos too. Now, they also have sometimes bigger weak links. Remember, there's vital reserve or vital voids and weak links, same thing. Now, let's take another person here and say, look, they're not eating right. They are eating Snickers for snacks or whatever. Their blood sugar is going up and down, and they're doing things with caffeine or alcohol and wrong foods, and they're really destroying their blood sugar all by themselves. Well, that's going to eventually affect the way carbs are metabolized in the body, and it's going to contribute to metabolic chaos. And depending on where the weak links are in that person, the vital voids, if you will, it may affect endocrine function, but this time it's going to be the adrenals or the gonads. They're going to end up with all kinds of sexual dysfunction. So it's not thyroid dysfunction as much. And why is it? Well, it's metabolic chaos custom just for you. It's your own little personalized version of metabolic chaos, and we're also biochemically individual. That's just the way it works. It could then, in this person, turn around to immune regulation or dysregulation problems. They end up with leaky gut and autoimmune thyroid, and they end up with multiple sclerosis or really serious stuff. So, don't you love that stuff? So, I think I do. Now,
I mean, it's fascinating because you realize that honestly, whatever you have or you're dealing with, you can make it better. And that is just such a beautiful thing to give people that kind of realistic hope, give them the realistic time frames.
Well, I hope you're absolutely right, and I hope people have a pen to write this down, okay? Because this is the way I put it to people. There are no guarantees, but there are very reasonable expectations you're going to improve. When you start using these general principles of health building and understanding how the body really works, when you look at metabolic chaos for what it is, and you look at symptoms for what they are, a result of metabolic chaos, now you've got some kind of platform or basis. So I'll say it again, and it's that there are no guarantees because we're not in control of anything. But there are very reasonable expectations. Everyone's going to move forward. And as Dr. Bailey says, even if they have a true medical condition, like a weak link that's so bad, they're always going to need some kind of medicine or propped up. What if they've had their gallbladder removed or something? I mean, they're going to need to be propped up. But, this stuff just works that way. And,
right, so you prop them up, and then the other systems and processes no longer break down as a result of the lack of propping up the weak link, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying that there are no guarantees, but reasonable expectations. Everyone's going to move forward when you give it enough time and dedication to doing the right things, when you sort it out this way. So what we've just discovered through the brain-body diagram, where symptoms were at the last thing to appear, they appear last and are very far removed from causal factors sometimes. So there's the symptoms on top, there's the stress-related dysfunction, and otherwise known as metabolic chaos, underneath the surface. Now, every one of these bullet points, I'm not going to read them, every one of these bullet points, whether it be the adrenal-related dysfunction, I'll skip dysbiosis, gut malfunction, sluggish liver detoxification, antigenic overload, they're all easily checked out by you using the right labs, just a handful of labs. Every one of those wouldn't take more than 3 and maybe 4 labs to figure out. Isn't that amazing? And we can sort this out and work on what's really wrong. And that would require, remember, now we've done step 1, which is the investigation. You run those, at least those 3 labs, maybe a couple more along the way, but you design that DRESS lifestyle program, diet, rest, exercise, stress, totally customized, focusing a lot on the stress reduction, and then you follow it. It takes time. There's no power boating to health. I love this analogy because I grew up on the Great Lakes and sailed a lot with my dad. We went out and sailed, and there's no power boating. You can't go, well, there's health on the other side of the lake. Rev it up, man. Let's shoot over there. There's no such thing in health building. It's a lot of tacking and coming about. You're going back and forth and back and forth. And you're reading the wind. You're reading the currents in the water. You got the boats in different shapes and sizes and things like that. So it's a lot more like sailing. It's work. And so
it's wonderful. I heard you use that analogy, we talked a couple days ago, and I think that's an awesome analogy for everyone to give their clients so that they have reasonable expectations that health is not a linear process where you're just going to get better and better and better, and then boom, you're at the island, right?
Well, yeah, I had a lady call me today. She's working with one of my students. She just kind of snagged me. And I didn't want to be talking to her. I didn't know her case. I've never looked at any tests. She goes, I've just getting a little bit frustrated here. I think it's going in the right direction, but I haven't really reached my goals yet. Well, how long have you been working together? She goes, about 8 weeks. I go, well, how long have you had your problem? 8 years. Okay,
right.
So you had your problem 8 years. You've been working with someone for 8 weeks, and what, you think you're going to be better? No. I said, are you heading in the right direction? Is she doing a good job? Are you looking at all the factors? She goes, yeah, I really think so. I just wanted to have someone else tell me I was doing the right thing. I go, you're doing the right thing. She's, oh, thank you. Don't tell that practitioner I called you.
A lot of it's like it's emotional. That's so
Yeah.
true.
So, well, that's where, coaching skills do come in. So your IIN people, your HMBA people, if you got some coaching skills, if you just like people and want to help them, then this is the other side of the coin. It's getting the nitty gritty of that. So now, like those people who are already health coaches, they're going to nail this part. What they need to learn is step 1 and step 2, all the labs and the protocols. Then they're going to do a great job of the process. Follow the DRESS program. We coach. We spend some time. Sometimes it's many months, coaching up that vital reserve, that intelligence, helping the body to regain that intelligence, while coaching down the contributors to metabolic chaos, whether it be food sensitivities, parasites, bacteria, funguses, hormone imbalances, digestive issues, you're not breaking down food, your liver's not clearing your body. All of those sorts of contributors to metabolic chaos have to be coached down over time while we, again, stimulate and support and give the body lots of neat stuff to work with. And behave yourself. And then guess what? Is it going to be designed perfectly at the beginning? No. You're going to use reassessment, and you're going to course correct, just like with the boat here. And my dad would yell at me sometimes, if you weren't watching where you're going, the boat, the term in sailing is fall off. You fall off. Hey, you're falling off. Like, okay, Dad, get it back on. Like, then you head up. It's called heading up. You're falling off. Head up. Okay. So head up means course correct. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. I let something go. I started drinking again, or I started forgetting drink my glass of water in the morning, or whatever it is you need to. You're falling off while you head up. You course correct, and you help that client adopt a working self-care and behavior model. For how long? For the rest of their lives. That's why 15 years ago, and I'm working with women, why they started bringing me their children, why they started bringing me their husbands. Because I was really teaching them, like the old saying, feed a man a fish, or give him a fish, you feed him for the day, but you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So,
I say that
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, believe it or not, we got to here in just under an hour. So now here's back to Susan, okay? Remember Susan, the picture of Susan on the park bench, and she was really overweight, and she was depressed, and she was just sort of, she had help, and even some sort of professional help who were just treating things specifically. Oh, take this for your fatigue, take this for your constipation, take this for your whatever it was. And instead, here's her new diagnosis: metabolic chaos. You've got hormone imbalances. You've got leaky gut. You've got parasites and fungus. You've got 22 different food sensitivities. Now, we test for 150, by the way, so that gives her, about 128 that she can still eat. The good, so we're not like cutting a lot of good food out of her diet. But, and she had a couple of allergies. But what I'm saying is this system of using general principles is what's underneath our FDN self-care model. And it just outperforms specific treatments any day of the week for 83% of the population, I'd say. Now, just in case some of you are thinking, I already run some tests, or I got someone down the street I work with and they do my test running for me. There's a lot of practitioners can order lab tests today. As a matter of fact, there are labs opening up to the public. Run the testing yourself. But guess what? They're going to be doing it based on symptoms. And then, as Krista already admonished us, they're then going to treat the test results. I get asked all the time, hey, I got someone with itchy butt, whatever, like what lab should I run? I go, well, I don't know what's causing it. Haven't sorted out their metabolic chaos. I got 3-4 labs that would, tell us, what's dysfunctional. Which one do you not want to run? You don't just look and surveil that one system. So here's an example. Let me put Krista to the test here. This is treating test results. The person comes in with weight gain, low energy, dry skin, brain fog, constipation, feeling sad and blue, swelling in the ankles. What is it? What's the typical, what is that?
All right, you guys all know this, right? That's typical thyroid. but what is causing the low thyroid?
Well, yeah. So it's diagnosis 9 times out of 10. If someone walks in a doctor's office with those complaints, it sounds like thyroid. So I'm going to run a thyroid test, and yep, pat myself on the back. You got low thyroid output. And I'm going to prescribe you some meds to bring those test results in range. The mere sound of that is odd to me. I'm going to bring those test results. We're going to bring the test results in range. That's treating the paper. And then we'll monitor test results and titrate accordingly. Titrate means adjust dosage. You're laughing because you know this is so true, right? So they're going to...
Crazy.
So they're going to titrate the dosage accordingly, and when they get those test results perfectly in range, that's a job well done in that mode of thinking. And guess what? Some symptoms may actually go away, abate. But what we've noticed in my 15 years and thousands of people who are using that approach, if they don't, well, let me put it this way, in fairness, if it was only their thyroid, if the thyroid was the only, in other words, the rest of them is 100%, there's no metabolic chaos, and it just happened to be something happened to their thyroid, some weird stroke of nature, then they'd be okay. But I'm going to say over 80% of the cases, there are other underlying causes, and that's the metabolic chaos. That's what goes unaddressed, and so guess what's going to happen? Symptoms will come back, or new symptoms will appear. And what we find these practitioners doing is, how are those thyroid symptoms? Oh, I feel a little more energy, and I lost a couple pounds, and I don't have the tingling in my hands and feet anymore. All right, good job. All right, we sure nailed that one. Yeah, but now I've got low libido, and my periods are funny, and I got this kind of lack of mental energy or something like that. Oh, that sounds like sex hormones. So let me I'll run a sex hormone test. They run a new test, and they repeat. In other words, yep, sure enough, got that. Your estrogen's low, and your testosterone's low. So no wonder you don't have it. Here's your prescription. Let's get those test results in range, and we'll monitor them. And so that's just a new cycle of trial and error. And I think I beat that one up pretty good. So instead of testing and treating symptoms, which is what we just illustrated, we use this step-by-step course of investigation. It's one of the most highly recommended in the world now. We identify those hidden stressors and malfunctions at the root of most problems you face. In other words, we sort out metabolic chaos for each individual, the weak links, the vital voids, if you will, and things that aren't working right, and then use the protocols that work directly on healing opportunities, restoring health and vitality, sometimes in ways you never thought possible. And what did I say earlier? There's no guarantees, but really reasonable expectations. And so people have choices, and you and your clients have choices. You can use lab-guided drugless protocols and behavior requirements to restore function, our DRESS program. In other words, a lifestyle program guided by lab work. Or you can stick with your trial and error, supplements, drugs, eventually leading to surgery and things like that. And what's at the bottom of the screen when your favorite expressions?
Don't guess at it, test it.
Don't guess at it, test at it. So I'm going to just sort of wrap up today. Again, I think we did great doing this in an hour. And I've got more time, but I want to answer some questions. Jen, hopefully we got a couple coming in. We have some frequently asked questions here. So we learned tonight that something might be missing from your practice. And it's that system. It's a system that will fill the needs gap. And we showed you 3 top labs that will help end the cycle of trial and error. Guess, don't test, as Krista said. And we learned that coaching up function, building health will outperform other things. And as long as we're also coaching down the contributors to poor health, the reasons you have so much metabolic chaos. And as we've said, not anyone could do FDN, but if you're a health coach who wants to stop this cycle of trial and error, we've got lots of IIN people. Every IIN that takes the FDN course just says, this is the meat on the bones that I've been looking for. In other words, they have a good sort of skeleton coaching program. Same thing with our other friends in other similar type organizations. Nutritionist, that's what I was. I'm a nutritionist who developed the system because nutrition alone wasn't working, not well enough. Personal trainers, which I'm also a certified personal trainer, massage therapists. And these are, I was trained in some trigger point therapy too, and I worked in the chiropractic office. It's amazing how much you can learn about a person by putting your hands on them. And so if you're doing that and you're finding trigger points and myofascial things going on and nervous system and even bones out of place that you refer to the chiropractor or something, this is an amazing addition to your repertoire of skills. And you're already connecting deeply with people. Obviously, the licensed folks love us because we're adding things to their practice that they didn't learn in school. And yeah, it's really important. RDs, they actually are starting to really get sick and tired of what they've been doing and starting to join us left and right all over. And they're great to have around because they do have some insights into how to get into some big places like institutions. Institutions like to hire RDs. So if they've got some additional skills like we could teach them, it's amazing. Dr. Bailey says what we do is so important in the health cycle and health business. There should be one FDN for every 3 doctors. Well, that means I need about 1 million more FDNs. And I'm ready to train them because at our local hospital system here, San Diego. You're in San Diego, Krista. We have Sharp, and we have Scripps, and there's one other big system, like Kaiser. Okay, Kaiser. Between them, what do they have? 5,000, 6,000 doctors. That would mean 2,000 FDNs just in San Diego.
If we could get it into Scripps, that would be incredible.
Scripps, Kaiser, and Dr. Bailey truly believes, he's coached me for 15 years how to develop this lifestyle program based on lab work. So we're primed, we're ready to go. We just need the FDNs to take the jobs, And what we provide in the course, I don't want to sound like I'm selling this too hard, but it's 10 self-paced modules. It's 24/7 online access. It starts the day you start. There's no waiting period to start. There's all the webinars and videos and audios, and I'm the primary teacher. Course guides and slides. You get a personal mentor, quizzes, midterm, final exam. These are our Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go back to that other slide for a second. Okay, so they can start at any time if they want to do FDN, and they self-pace it. And then how long is the whole program, and when are they taking their midterm?
We give people up to a year, which is not bad for a course that should only take you 6 months. You can also take leave of absence. Look, we work with you. We don't kick people out unless they're mean.
Yeah, give them a year. I've had so many of the nutritionists I've mentored. I used to hire and train nutritionists the whole journey, and I'd make sure that they went to FDN and IIN, and then I would know how to put it together under the whole journey. And so, it really is a program that you can do while you're working, while you have other things going on. A lot of times they'd be doing both programs at the same time.
Yes, ma'am. And you could do this. We have people do it in 6 months who are working full time. The mentorship program is amazing. By the way, this week marks the 7th anniversary of the FDN course. So
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much. I stood in front of 19 people and did for 2 days and went over hundreds of slides. The course has grown so much. It's just, the principles are the same, but it's a different course now. It's amazing. I have almost twice that number of people who attended the first class working for FDN, and we hire from within. We're a growing organization. We sort of take the cream of the crop and hire them. It's like, hey, you got through the course and you're a good FDN, and you bring some other skills to the table, whether it be mentoring or we have we have technical, we have development and sales and marketing. We have lots of opportunities for people. But you need to start with working on yourself first. So we have everyone get one-on-one support. Your mentor will you're going to run a couple labs on yourself. You're going to do the protocols. You're going to do some practical exercises, in other words, mock-up clients, and then you're going to do 2 real clients before you're done. By the time you're finished with this course, and well, Krista, you know this, you're going to be doing it already, even charging people before you even finish the course. And then you get to work with, and graduates get to work with me on business development. So we're now a global community. We have Facebook groups. We have a new private communifier thing coming up for case studies. We're going to have this private case study group for people all over the world. So if you're struggling with somebody, hey, get the brain trust in on it, you know. We do weekly neat stuff. I love my call-in show. Every Friday for years, there's at least 200 or 300 calls archived. The weekly call-in show where I take tough questions and I lay it out there just for our group. It's private, so I don't try not to swear too much or crack too many jokes. But you know, there's lots and lots of support is what I'm trying to get at. And you'll be joining. We're really close to 2,000 FDNs now. We're very highly sought after.
For a second, the lab advisors. Tell me about that, because I'll say, and people say, how did you learn all of this? And I wish FDN was available when I was, 10 years ago when I started this, because I would, every test I ran, I would call the on-staff lab doctor and be like, what does this mean? And what does that mean? And, that was my schooling and how I learned. And so they can call in and talk to your lab advisors based upon the lab work they're running.
Well, yeah, the labs, once you graduate and you've done with all your mentorship, and you should be up and running and very confident in your ability to go help people, and we'll teach you the business model so that you can charge people and make a good living doing FDN and your health, work it into your health coaching business. You'll up your game so much, but you're going to need some ongoing support. So we have groups, but there's also just flat out just the lab advisors. The labs I teach you to use, they've got their own advisors. Matter of fact, I happen to be one for one of those labs. Now I had to cut back my hour. I can only give them a couple hours a week, but I'm a lab advisor for one of these labs that we use, and so there's always ongoing support was the idea. And I got a lot of my training by bugging the heck out of those guys.
Right.
And yeah. So there's always ongoing support. So we're very highly sought after. Some really cool people love us, and we love them, of course, including you, Krista, and other groups. Now, I mentioned IIN on the right there because, but I don't have an official relationship with them. With HMBA and NANP and these other things, we're official. The NCCAOM, that's the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. They recognize us nationally for relicensing credits. That's how cool they think the FDN course is. They tell acupuncturists, you can meet your relicensing requirements by taking the FDN course. That's how respected it is. But I say IIN grad, so I don't have an official thing with IIN, but their grads love us, and you can talk to.
I do. I have an official relationship with IIN, and I went there, and I love that program, and I just think you guys are a marriage made in heaven.
Thank you.
So cool that you're supported by the NANP, National Association for Nutrition Professionals. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm a regular speaker at their annual events, and they have me on for some of their blog talk things and interviews and stuff like that. And by the way, it's a two-way street. I support them 100% by donating to their cause. And again, when I get a booth and attend as a speaker and things like that, I pay them for that. So I support them a lot. They're doing some neat work behind the scenes with some of the legislature. They lobby to some degree, and they are out there educating people. So it's a really good sort of public relations company as well. And for those of you that are interested, see what their requirements are to join. We're a professional member, but to be an NANP, you got to have some stuff going for you. And our course qualifies for their credits too. So if you want to become an NANP, you're going to have to maintain certain professional development credits, and we qualify for all of these, or most of them, and many more. So is it okay if I tell people what they could do if they want to take a look at us?
Oh, yeah, for sure. If you guys are ready. I mean, I think so many people that on tonight are just have been looking for a long time and trying to decide what was the next path for them. So what's our next step?
Well, we've concluded to some degree, although I'm going to stay on for Q&A. If you're ready to join us, join I'll say, one of the most respected programs that is currently way underpriced. I don't have the price slide here, but it's $39.95. I've been told I'm giving it away. I've been told that there are courses people took that they paid double and only got half what we do. That would mean we're undercharging by 75%. You know, we're worth 4 times what we're charging, is what I keep getting told. Now, I like to be the people's hero. I like to kind of just, you know, I don't want to price myself out too much, you know. So anyway, so not only are we, I'll turn my thing on too here. Although
I just want to say, Reed, I remember when FDN was, you know, originally it was $2,000 program, which is crazy cheap, and we were in a mastermind, and there's so many other programs that were 2, 3, 4, 5 times the price. And yeah. I know you do work from your heart, and it's hard for us as healers to charge for what we do, but I believe in your program 100%.
Yeah, thanks so much. We are growing, and we want to continue to grow so that we have a voice, and so that we can get everybody to adopt our paradigm or change their paradigm to one of true healing. And so I'm willing to offer your listeners a discount even. While our price is really low, your peeps are going to get, and I have to look to the screen here. So you get, if you make the, go to that website, fdntraining.com, and click register now. You'll see some options there. If you pick the one payment plan, you'll get $500 off if you use the coupon WJ, which stands for Whole Journey, 500. So it'll ask you to register. So you register the student. That's you, your name and particulars. And then it'll ask you for credit card information. That's where you go sneak your mother's or your husband's credit card out of their wallet or purse. And you come back and you put their card number in there, and you take off $500 by putting WJ500 in there. Okay, so I want you to go do that right now. And there are also payment plans available. And Krista has been so generous. Tell us about your special offer here. The thing you're going to add.
So yeah, to connect with you guys. And so, you know, I remember we did a show, and you gave us, when we did a show together, you gave us the $500 off, and now thank you for doing that again until next Friday. And so for the first 5 of you that know you want to do this and you're signing up tonight, they will give me your information, and then you will have an hour with me for a business coaching session. Or if you want it to be about something besides business and practice building, you know, for your own health, that's fine too. So I just want to be able to connect with you guys and support you, because like Reed said, we need 3 FDNs for every doctor, and I feel like the world just needs so many more health coaches, good, caring health coaches that are smart, and they're going to get to the underlying root cause, and the more we have, the more we can change the world together.
Yeah, fantastic. So I think, let me just go back to that for a second here, and thanks for your patience. So we have some FAQs to get people started, but I do want to say this, that the coupon is good to the July 24th, and then we've added so much of that mentoring and so much of the support. We're creating these groups that we can all sort of share in, and I have to monitor those groups and things. In the Friday calls, my entire staff gets involved in that stuff. So the cost of delivering the FDN course has gone up quite a bit. And so I'm going to have to raise the price. I'm not trying to scare you into doing this now. I'm just giving you the honest. If you come back in even a month from now and the price has gone up, I had to do that. And so Krista actually asked me to hold off for you guys, because I told her that I have an imminent price increase. She said, no, let me get my webinar in there.
Wait until August 1st to increase the price, and I appreciate that. That's why I wanted to do this with you guys now. It's like, if you know this is your path, and you know, right? You get that gut instinct, then join before August 1st for the price hike.
All right, guys, I got one for you, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, we got lots of questions. I'm going to go through a few of them that I know are kind of quick, because we've gone a little bit over.
Okay.
Just to knock them. Michelle wants to know, how much does it cost again? And then Jennifer wants to know, do you offer scholarships?
It's $39.95, and right now the best that I have is that discount, and I've been known to give that same discount to military. because I believe in so much in what the military is doing and the sacrifices they make. So I have some military scholarships only at this time.
Perfect. Lena wants to know, would I be able to purchase this course for the discounted price at a later date, or purchase it now and then start it at a later date? I'm just not ready to start the training right now because of my circumstances.
Good question, and the answer is yes. Sign up now. Purchase a course at this price. Just tell us when you are going to start. Like, again, we give you 12 months, but that starts ticking. Well, it starts ticking when you sign up. But if you tell us you want a leave or read set on a webinar, I could start 2 months later. Just tell my staff and they will take care of you. But you'll get the best price by getting in by the 24th.
Great, thank you. Alexis wants to know, can a layperson with no nutritional or medical background but a passion for this knowledge and desire to be a health coach benefit from taking this course? And also, would a health coach require malpractice insurance and legal coverage?
Well, you answer the first one and I answer the second one.
Okay, so, and that question again, Jen, is from who?
That was from Alexis.
Alexis. So yeah, we wanted to do this if you're already a health coach, if you're aspiring to become a health coach, so you don't have to have any prior knowledge to be able to do this course. You can start this way and learn coaching. And we actually have a lot of people who do FDN who are, husbands and wives, and they just have a passion for nutrition, and they actually don't want clients, but they just want to be able to help their families manage their health care throughout life and run labs on the family and balance the health of the family once a year. So you should be good to go. And then I think professional liability insurance is the way that we all go. Right, Reed?
Absolutely. And I teach you all that stuff. I give you a tremendous amount of, I give you everything I have to be in practice. All the terms of service agreements. There's just so many documents there that we give you. How to work with people, including the legal aspects and an application for professional liability insurance. And it's cheap. And you'll never use it. You only have it because you have it. It's just part of being a professional. People might ask you. And especially if you go work somewhere, like if you go work in a clinic, you're renting space, or they hire you or something, they may want you to have your own professional liability insurance. You can say, oh yeah, and you can make them additional insured for like $100 a year, $150 a year at the most. So yeah, we totally have that nailed. And I'll just, one last thing about the background you need to have. Remember, I started with no background. I was just a good researcher and writer. I was a legal researcher and writer in the environmental field, and I brought those research skills into the starting with nutrition and then physiology field. So everything I showed you tonight is about as sophisticated as it gets, and I go into a lot of detail in the course. But no fluff, like someone said. I've been complimented on no fluff, no filler material. It's and you'll want to listen to it over and over again and adopt it. And so you don't need to be a physiologist. If you had, like I did, 7th or 8th grade biology, that's good enough for me. And but if you only took this and worked on yourself and your family, that alone would be worth the price of admission. The fact that you get to make a business out of it is just, amazing.
Yeah, the cost is so cheap, like literally 3 clients, and it covers the cost of admission.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Sarah Wynn. Congratulations for signing up. She just posted on here that she signed up. She said that this call was what she needed to give her the final push, and she thanks you, Krista. She does have a quick question. Also, she wants to know, she knows that it's self-paced, but what is the pace that you recommend for completing and getting the most out of the program? So I can kind of add to that for you, Sarah, because I'm an FDN practitioner myself, and on average it takes our students about 6 months. I was working full-time, and I committed about 3 hours a week, and I got through it within 6 months of time too. So I think that that's plenty. And I don't know if Reed, if you have anything to add about timing for that or what you would recommend, but I think that it was a great piece for me, and I just think it's different for everybody. For us, we're going to be there for you to move you through. It takes about 6 months, but if you want to do it in 4, we will not slow you down. Your mentor will be right there going, yeah, right on, okay.
somebody who really wants to do this and can't wait to get out there, and they'll help you start lining up your clients and all kinds of things. So there's a tremendous support. Congratulations. Thanks for jumping in there.
Congrats, Sarah. Well, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah because she was my private client for a long time, and now she's doing health coaching. And Sarah, I think this is perfect for you. And my schedule is finally opening up, so now I owe you 2 hours because we were supposed to meet at Lofty. So congratulations, and we'll see you at some point before the month is out, in the next month.
Yeah, just want to clarify, we've had a couple of people ask, is this a certification? And want to say that it is a certification. With your certification, that gets you your accounts set up to access the labs that we've been talking about today. Also, accounts for different supplement companies like Thorne Research and BioHealth and Ultralife and Pure Encapsulations and Numedica. You can use that certification to get access as a practitioner to those different types of resources also.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're being recognized more and more for professional development credits too, to maintain your status as a within your other organizations. So if you're a personal fitness trainer, you need to turn in PDAs, professional development, PDCs, even if you're licensed, like I said, acupuncture, there's a couple of states where chiropractors can get their relicensing credits. The NANP recognizes us and lots of other organizations. So we're not recognized by the government as an educational institution, but we're recognized by a lot of professional groups. And so it's a certification. And as Jen said, probably the key thing is you're going to have access to the labs, our medical director program, and that whole thing. I mean, sometimes that's why people join, to get that.
Okay. What about Rosemary says, I'm a retired nurse. Will this in any way impact negatively me taking this course legally? I don't think there's any problem there at all, right?
Nurses are joining left and right because they understand the system they work in of specific treatment. More or less, that whole idea of specific treatments is not satisfactory to them. Not saying it isn't helpful. I'm saying it isn't satisfactory to them. They became a nurse to really help people, and they're kind of tired of the system. So your nursing background will actually give you more credibility. If you want to present yourself to the public as a nurse and FDN, well, that's a good business prospect right there. I'll show you how to do that. I'll teach you. I help graduates build robust practices, as robust as you want to get. If you want to be,
there's no shortage of sick people and people who need this work. So.
You're never going to run out of customers.
Mm-mm.
Never.
What about Ginger Edwards? Hi, Ginger. It's so good to be connecting with my tribe right now. She says, is working with one of your FDNs and doing the testing going to cost around the same as the program you are offering? So what about people who maybe aren't ready for FDN, but they want to work with your practitioners, do the testing on themselves and heal themselves before they take the plunge?
You could spend close to the same amount. It actually would be a little less. Typical clients, if you hire one of my top people, you're going to spend about $3,000 over a period of time. You're going to have to pay the practitioner. Like Jen, what are you charging now just for your fees alone?
My 9-month program, I'm charging around $5,000 for it, and then my 6-month program, I'm charging I think it's $27.25 right about now. So that's
all right.
And that includes the labs.
So don't hire Jen. Take the course. It's cheaper. But no, I'm kidding. But there are FDNs out there who start off charging less because Jen's really special and she has a lot of confidence, and she's very good. She knows this stuff in and out. And if you want to hire an FDN, she'd be a great one to hire. But you could take the course for it'd actually be a little, but the in-depth training would be what you want. I mean, you'd learn to work on everybody, not just yourself. You'll work on yourself, and you'll make some improvements, and you'll adopt all the things that we do. So as I said, it's worth the price of admission. But the fact that you're going to get to turn around and do it on other people, get all the sort of rights and privileges of the FDN certification, you just couldn't beat that. So I'll leave that decision to you. I'm a little biased. I'm right now in my I want to grow my organization. I want to change the way medicine's practiced in the world. And we can only do that if we create a groundswell of demand from the public, and we're there to serve the public, and we're getting looked at. Like already doctors are saying, you guys are a hell of a grounding program for my sick patients, and it's a matter of time before they actually start looking at, well, how are you doing that now? Anyway, we need to grow. And so I would have you join the course.
Another one that we've had kind of reoccurring, you guys, is about the lab tests. People are wanting to know if insurance covers them, and in some cases it does. It's very easy to run it through insurance. Some cases it may not be. I think it just depends on recommendations from maybe the physician, and also I know with my clients I always ask if they have a health savings account card. That's kind of a new trend.
That's the thing to do.
And you can use that card to pay for any of your testing that you want to without having to necessarily go through insurance.
There's a couple labs that just don't process insurance payments, but they will take your HSA card. If you have a health savings account, you can pay with tax-free dollars, and then you can, with the other companies, it just depends on the lab. They will run it through your insurance for you. It's just more work, but yeah.
The labs are cheaper though. Like I didn't ever mark up, my labs, BioHealth Labs, and it's like, well, if you were to run them with your medical doctor, even though you have insurance, a lab, when you start to compare, I feel like the labs are so reasonably priced.
Yeah, our labs are cheap. I mean, that's one thing we've done. You're right, Chris. Is we've vetted out the best labs, and that's who we work with. They got great prices for the cash. And it used to be that people didn't have insurance. Now more people have insurance, but it's crappy insurance. So you're going to pay the deductible anyway. So go ahead and run it through your insurance company. Your deductible's so high, you're going to pay for it. So anyway.
Right.
Great. Another one here, I think this would be good for everybody because I've had a couple questions about it too, is do you get the ability to order the labs as soon as you register for the course, or do you have to complete a portion of the program first?
You have to. You get to run the labs on yourself immediately, and you complete a portion of the labs, and then you get to run them on 2 clients, and then you have to graduate to run them on more. And I know that's the hoops we have to have you jump through because of our agreements with our medical director and the labs. It's not me that controls that. It's the agreements I was able to develop with the lab and with the medical director. So that's just the way the system works. You do have to graduate. But listen, you could have 10 people ready to run labs, and as soon as you graduate, boy, you got 10 clients lined up. And I do a post-grad interview with every single graduate. I do 2 or 3 a week. And I love those calls. They're my favorite time of the week. It's like, I do a lot of cool stuff, but that's a really good time, is that, someone who just graduated, and I get to click the button on the computer that gets them on our list and things like that. So it's a joyous time, and I will help you build your practice and go over all that kind of stuff with you.
Great. Okay, a couple other questions here. We have another question. Have you treated RSD or CRPS? I'm not sure. You guys know what those are?
No, I would say this. I'm gonna draw a line here and say we don't treat anything specifically. So have I run into people with different conditions, previous diagnoses that were obscure and serious? Yes. Do we treat those things? No. So we don't treat those things. But we're not afraid. Remember what I said. FDN is a holistic grounding program from the view of a doctor. Like, they're going to treat that specific thing to save your life and to make you comfortable and to prop up what vital void there might be, or some genetic predisposition or whatever it is. So they're coming in, they're applying attendant care to save you, make sure you don't turn worse, and you want them monitoring. We call it oversight. There's nothing wrong with having some medical oversight. Certainly, they're good guys, or gals or women, and they want to help. So they got their job to do. But we don't treat that thing. We look at all the other underlying causes, conditions, the contributors to metabolic chaos, and we help coach up what vital reserve is there. Vital reserve is the most important concept in this whole thing. That's what's remaining of the intelligence in your cells. Remember, every cell is given a set of instructions and knows what its job is from day one. But lines can go missing because it's got too much interference. You're eating crap, and your environmental pollutants. There's 80,000 chemicals in the environment. Now, I remember I was in environmental law. I could go on and on about these things. So no, it's almost not a fair question, because I told you we don't treat anything. And can we help a person with all of that, and fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, and ALS, and all these different things? Can we help? Yes. The question is, do you want to help those kind of people? Now, personally, if I have a 3-year-old with terminal cancer, and can you help me? I have to pass, because my heart, I'm going to get too involved, and I don't want terminal patients, or clients. So, but could you possibly offer some stuff? I think as long as that, if it's a terminal case, that person needs to get right with what's next, in my view. And once that's done, then you could do some things to help them be comfortable, maybe have some more quality of life and things like that. So hope that answers it pretty much.
Great. Go ahead.
Well, I'm curious too. Danielle's asking, are the labs just saliva and urine? And so it's saliva, urine, and stool, but is it blood work as well with FDN?
Yeah, sure. Now, in the course, we only teach a couple blood tests. We look at some thyroid, and we look at some food sensitivity, different types of food sensitivity testing. Because with the average health coach, you need to keep your scope simple. You need to keep it with that people can do these tests at home. And so if you're doing a ton of blood work, you can do it. But if you're doing a ton of blood work, all your customers are having a hassle with blood draws. So if you can get the information from saliva or urine or stool, you'd rather do that, because it's easy collected at home, and generally the prices are lower. You can get some really good solid information, the kind we want. You can do a surveillance of you can survey the territory very nicely with the saliva, urine, and stool, and some blood tests. You get a lot of, again, you survey the territory, the metabolic chaos. What are the things going on? We showed you tonight the adrenals and circadian rhythm, and liver and detoxification, lipid peroxidase and oxidative stress, the digestion breaking down. That's a lot of territory. There's a lot of room for improvement. You're going to identify things that can be improved upon with those. So blood testing, it's actually not all it's cracked up to be in what we do in creating a Dress for Health Success program. They aren't that insightful. That's why people come to you and they say, well, I went and got my CBC Chem panel. They go ahead and do the blood chemistry with their physician, but nothing's wrong with me. He says I'm fine. Why would we want to run a bunch of those?
Right.
Great, you guys. So questions are starting to dwindle down here.
Let's just put a time limit on it and say a couple more, and
a couple more. I think this is kind of a good one. How is this course different than FIN training? Also, is all of this on the net, or can there be time spent with role models like Krista in clinics?
Yeah, well, this is the only course that you're going to get me. So if you want my, well-grounded, honest research, really, with the intensity that all those years of running all those labs, all that experience, plus everything I've learned since I've been teaching, mine's the only course you're going to get those observations and that point of view that I developed, and the system, the medical director program, all the ways that you can be successful in business, they're going to come from my course. I don't know a lot about some of these other courses. I've heard things about them, and I guess you can learn. Mine is very exciting. I don't read a script. In other words, you don't sit there and get put to sleep. Like, I've taken some of those classes, and I can't stand when someone's reading a script. Like, you're looking at a slide, and they're just and then they're just reading it. I have bullet points, and I know my stuff. I'm having a good time teaching because I know what's in the background. Now you get the recordings, you get to watch the webinars over and over. You can get just the audio and put it on your iPhone and just plug it into your car, Bluetooth it to something, things like that. You get all the slides, you can make notes, you talk it over with your mentor. There's tons of one-on-one time, hours and hours of one-on-one time with your mentor. Then there's the Facebook groups. Then there's the Friday calls that I do that are fun, call-in show. And it's kind of a riot. So, again, I don't know that anyone else is doing it the way we do it, and gives you the machinations, the tools, the whole structure. It's kind of a turnkey thing.
Guys, what's the website again? Amy's asking. I'm going to type it into the box.
FDNtraining.com.
FDNtraining.com. There we go. I'll send it to all of you guys.
Here's another good one, you guys. What physicians or referral sources do you find that support FDN? I personally work with acupuncturists, chiropractors, and other personal trainers who are looking for resources for their clients. Reed, do you want to touch on that, or Kristen a little bit more too?
Well, those are good ones. But I had someone call me the other day and say that they were considering taking the course. And so what they did is they called up a physician they know and said, hey, if I take this course, will you hire me or will you refer people to me? And he said, I certainly wouldn't hire you because I'd have no way of charging. I wouldn't know how to bill it. So that's the problem today with physicians is if you're their patient, you're not their customer. Who is the customer? The payer. It's just like if a mom brings a 14-year-old into a nice store to buy some clothes with daddy's credit card, who's the customer? Is it daddy who's paying? Is it mom who's supervising? Or is it the 14-year-old? It's not the 14-year-old. So if you're a patient, you're not the customer. That doctor is, there's the mom and the dad there too. There's the gatekeeper to the money. And then there's the stockholders of the insurance company and the rules they have and stuff. So they just don't know how to deal with what we do. We're a cash practice. Like I know someone asked about insurance, and yeah, it'll pay for some of the labs, but it's not going to pay my fees. So you have to learn to develop a cash practice, stand on your own 2 feet, and if you want to work with doctors, let me tell you exactly how to do it. Send them some people. Send them. You don't go to a doctor, especially a chiropractor, and say, hey, got anyone for me to work on? They'd probably give you a boot out the door. And I used to work in a chiropractic office, and I gave lots of people the boot out the door who came and wanted to sort of suck off of our patients. What I learned to do is, if you want a successful relationship with a physician, especially chiropractors, that say, hey, listen, I need a chiropractor to check all my clients' necks. Would you like to be that chiropractor? There'd be a fool to say no. So you need to learn to stand on your own 2 feet, develop work within your community. Then you're going to go out online and start bringing in people from around the world, because you can do this as distant coaching. But in your own community, you want to establish yourself, work on a handful of people. And then if you want to go network with chiropractors, you say, hey, I have some clients, and a lot of them have some neck pain and, something's going on. Can you check them out for me? And would you do it for free? Do you do free exams? And then tell them, oh, and by the way, I'd like to use your office to do a lecture, and your patients come, but I'll bring in people from the public. The public's going to come into your office, and I'm going to lecture to them, and we're going to have you say a few words about, hey, I can check your neck out, and stuff like that. So, I worked in a chiropractic office for 8 years. I'm still actually affiliated with them and have a spot down there. They refer me people. And so 15 years working in a wellness center, I can tell you exactly how that should go. But don't expect doctors to start referring people to you left and right just because you say you're an FDN. I will not say that.
I would say, I check out all the doctors I go to, make sure they're integrative doctors. I like scripts for that reason. And, throughout practice, you're generating a relationship with a doctor. So then my clients would say, hey, I need an MD, right? And so I'm referring the same thing to them. And it's this, reciprocal relationship that just happens, and then your clients say, oh, I'm working with so-and-so and I'm getting so much better, and they remember that. So it's a very organic process.
I think we'll just one or two more, you guys. We have, can you explain the difference between an FDN and a certified health coach?
Yeah, certified health coaches, there's different brands, so to speak, IIN and HMBA and some of these others. And I think they're good coaches. I think they understand how to motivate people. They certainly know how to hang out their shingle and charge a fee for their time and do things to help people. They're health coaches. They're really like personal coaches. By the way, back in the 80s, I took a personal coaching course, and it was basically neuro-linguistic programming. It was how to talk to people and get them to change their behavior. So that's what a health coach is, really a personal coach who gets people to change behavior. You can certainly have them stop eating crap, go to bed on time, go to the gym more often. You can be a health coach brand of personal coach. But when it comes to what's really wrong with them, what are you going to do? You need some meat on the bones of your program. If you can do our 3-step process, run the labs, design a really good Dress for Health Success program, cover all those angles, then use your health coaching skills to have them follow through, to say, look, we're gonna focus on this for 90 days, then we'll do another 90-day program after that. And there's different models you could come up with. But so I'd say there's quite a big difference. But we're all in the same genre. We all just are helper people. I'm a helper dude. You're a helper dudette.
You're a helper dude. Yeah, I love, IIN, where they go through the different dietary theories, and you learn how whoever the person is in front of you, how to speak to them in their language and pull the pearls of wisdom from all these different dietary theories and put together a diet plan that makes sense to that person, that will taste good, and so you can really start to move them forward and find the idea of their food is their medicine, and then using FDN to drill deeper and get to the root of it. And so it's really, that's what I would say, it's like a perfect marriage to have the two.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
primary food, IIN talks about primary food, you're getting to the emotional aspect, and so part of your dress program where you're de-stressing, sometimes, the IIN training is going to help people get underneath that and really why don't they want to take care of themselves, that type of thing, and then you get the most go forward.
Yeah, that's totally true too. They need to be recognized each for the quality, the values, the skills, the skill sets, and things like that. Because in the FDN course, I teach you my way of doing it, the way I got people to do things, but I didn't use a lot of sophisticated methods. I pretty much told them, do it or I won't work with you. like, hey, if you're not doing the program, there's nothing for us to talk about. And I used to just handle people that way, and now I realize that you need to be more, I was working in the clinic, and it's like, look, if you're not going to do it, well, what do you want me to say? The same thing I said last time you're in here? You want me to repeat myself about why you need, and so I used to sort of shine them on if they wouldn't do it. But now I realize that there's a whole nother sort of industry there of like, well, we're not going to tell them, you flunk. We're going to tell them, look, you need to, here's how you can get it into your life. Here's how you adopt some of these better habits. And so, again, I show you my way, which is, habit forming and stuff. I don't kick them out of the office anymore. But you'd be very wise to take both. I highly recommend both.
Right, you guys. I just want to say, we do need to wrap up here, you guys. I know that we didn't get to everybody's questions. We had so many good questions coming through, so I apologize that we didn't get to everybody. But you can email us at fdninfo@fdninc.com. I put that in the chat box, so you should all be able to see that. So again, it's fdninfo@fdninc.com. If we didn't get to your questions, I know some people were asking about getting access in China and Costa Rica and some things, and we just didn't get to those yet, and some other questions about requirements and things like that. So Appreciate you guys all hanging on, and we will have the replay up in a couple of days. Reed and Krista, is there anything else that you guys want to add here?
There's a phone number on the screen now. I'll just say it for those that might be just listening. It's 858-386-0075. You talk to us. We'll answer your questions on the phone too. So call in and have a chat, and there won't be any pressure put on you. We want to know if it's right for you too. We want people signing up who are committed to finishing the course in 6 to 12 months. 6 months should be no problem.
Right. People who are going to do it, go out there and make a difference.
I want you to...
And believe in yourself, the world needs this work, and so it's awesome.
All right, thanks guys. I love you, and I support you 100%, and can't wait for the future.
Awesome. All right, good to be with you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.